I have no idea what today's talk is called, but I do have some quotes to begin with. All three are by Stephen Levine, who wrote Who Dies, a book that reverberated very deep with me. So here's his first quote. We almost never directly experience what pain is because our reaction to it is so immediate that most of what we call pain is actually our experience of resistance to that phenomenon. And the resistance is usually a good deal more painful than the original sensation. His second quote. To heal means to meet ourselves in a new way, in the newness of each moment where all is possible and nothing is limited to the old. And lastly, the process of growth is, it seems, the art of falling down. Growth is measured by the gentleness and awareness with which we once again pick ourselves up, the lightness with which we dust ourselves off, the openness with which we continue and take the next unknown step beyond our edge, beyond our holding, into the remarkable mystery of being. These quotes struck me because my week has been an incredible, transformative one. It started on Sunday with some devastating news. And it was the kind of news that is so large that it had me question and look at every single aspect of my life. It had me look at what I had done to create such devastating news in my life. Now, because I'm human, at first I went into this whole thing of beating myself up pretty badly around creating this. And then was able, because of my spiritual practice, to look beyond that, to see what the opportunity here for me really was. And the thing is this year for me has been about loving myself. That was the commitment I made January 1, was that this year was going to be about loving myself. So what I did is the first place I went was looking into what it's going to take to love myself in this. And one of the first places I came to was being of service to others. And so I found myself doing everything I can for those around me to be of service to them, whether it was cleaning the toilet, cleaning out the litter box, whatever, big and small, whatever it could be. I wanted to do those things because I felt that was generating something within me that was allowing me to love myself. Now, I was also dealing with a huge amount of feelings around this. I felt my self-esteem plummet. I felt my self-worth that this must be all I'm worthy. But what's really true is this must be on some level what I created. And so in looking at all this, in applying these principles that we talk to every week, that we practice with all the time, I took it to this place of it's really time to reorganize myself on a much deeper level. Given how devastating this news felt to me, it meant that somehow I had set myself up for that somehow I was not grounded. Because news is news, and the level of devastation we feel about it has got to do with something within us. And the more grounded we are in our spiritual practice, in our self-love, the more grounded we are in loving ourselves, the deeper we can get to news just being news and not taking it as personal as this news had struck me. It doesn't matter what it is. We all have moments in our lives where something comes along that just whacks us and how hard we feel that and what we do next. One of the things that I love about that last quote is you get knocked down, and then what do you do? Do you close up and become darker? Or do you somehow find a way to open to a bigger light, to reach for that? And that's what this week has been about for me. I have shed a tremendous amount of tears in looking at what this news means to moving forward. And what it means has everything to do with how I am being with myself in this, how deep my self-love could feel in this. It's been a struggle. I would love to sit here and tell you I did my spiritual practice and boom, boom, boom. Everything was hunky-dory. The truth is that news came Sunday. This is Wednesday, and I am still working through a lot of this. But it's the little victories. It's the little victories that we can latch on to that make life so brilliant. For instance, I have noticed I did a way better job than I have ever done in my life of not taking out my pain on those I love around me. In fact, doing just the opposite, showering them with love, really pushing that envelope for myself, because again, as Stephen Levine says, it's taking that next unknown step beyond our edge, beyond our holding, that brings us into the remarkable mystery of being. And I wanted to feel that. I am committed to feeling that. So I continue to take that step forward. And what I am here to say to you is that it's worth it. It's worth taking that step into the remarkable mystery of being by stepping beyond your edge of comfort, by stepping beyond what you might normally do. And so I have done something incredibly different than I have normally done this week, and I have felt the difference. Again, I am not sitting here going, I am through it and everything is wonderful and hunky-dory. But in the past, this would have floored me in a way that may have taken me weeks or even months to pick up from. And instead, I am feeling the shift of my open heart. Instead, I am embracing the newness of what this news and the opportunity it brings for who I can become into it. I want nothing more than to love the people around me and to love myself. And I highly recommend taking that approach instead of the approach that someone is out to get you or that things are just dark and impossible. Because I want you to know that nothing is impossible, that we live in a world of infinite possibility. And so it's up to us to grab onto something, anything. I remember when I was living out in the woods, and I had some pretty devastating news out there as well. And what I grabbed onto is what I call life raft, which was the simple affirmation of my life works. And I got to tell you, I said it sometimes hundreds of times a day, over and over and over like a mantra. And looking back on that moment and seeing what grew out of that, I can see that my life does work. And so I take this new news inside that place, in the container of loving myself and those around me. I take this news in a way that allows me to grow larger than I ever thought possible. I take that news beyond that edge of comfort into the remarkable mystery of being. Whatever news you are confronted with, whatever circumstances you are confronted with, you have the choice to how you perceive it, how you are with it, and what actions you take from it. It is easy to take the action of shutting down and closing off our hearts. Much tougher to open beyond our edge. But that's what I recommend. I recommend and I hope to inspire you to reach beyond your edge, open to whatever news comes your way, whatever circumstances comes your way, and love yourself in it. Love yourself in it. Love the circumstance and allow it to show you the transformation that must be there for you. Thank you. I love you.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.